You're right. I think that's why you am. All right, good morning, everyone. The rest of the restaurant. Wait back. I hear you. You know, even though that's certainly right. That's I was saying, lack of a better word. Yeah. Lovely guy, lucky. Good morning. I missed you guys last week. I hope that there was a good learning with the cancer. Maybe you got I didn't hear what you did, but maybe I'm assuming some musical stuff, maybe. Or, so hopefully that was fun. All right. So let's start with our blessing. Baruch. All right. So did everybody get prayer books? You got prayer books? Okay, great. All right. 30. What's that? 30. Yeah, 30. 30 should be, wait, what's 30? Are we already? Yeah. Moving right along. Page 30. Okay, Mateo. All right. Tell me, so did you do a little Mateo last week? We discussed Mateo. Right. Okay. What did you learn?
That was Lewandowski, the famous computer.
Yeah.
Java congregation assimilated. An organ was a breaking point away from orthodoxy because it was very church service-like.
Yeah.
And then he played some music.
Oh, good. Okay, very nice. Very nice. All right, so I want to dig into the text then of Mateo.
Well, I mean, you're welcome to do whatever you want. Of course, we talked about, you know, where in the Torah it derives from.
Okay.
The curse turning into a blessing.
Yeah.
We talked about actually, I think there are like 10 syllables in the opening verse, and that's a way to count for a minion without counting.
That's cool.
You first walk in the
yeah.
It was specifically for Shabbat. During the week, you can count the minyan, but on Shabbat, you're not supposed to count.
Good learning, yeah.
Very nice. All right. Well, I want to do a little bit with this text also. So you see, I want to just first explore kind of what's on the pages here. Did y'all do that? They like look at the notes and everything on the pages?
No.
Okay. All right. So let's first of all, let's read through the English of the prayer itself, and then we'll take a look at the other stuff on the page. So, Linda, would you like to read the English or your mouth? Well,
I can read in English.
there you go. You want how fair?
How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. I, through your abundant love, enter your house. I bow down in awe at your holy temple. Adonai, I love your temple abode, the dwelling place of your glory. I will humbly bow down low before Adonai, my maker. As for me, my prayer comes to you, Adonai, in a favorable time. O God, in your abundant faithfulness, answer me with your sure deliverance.
Okay. So it's not common that we would actually read that in English. You know, we usually sing this song in in the services, and there are various melodies which the cantor talked with you about. On reading the English here, what are your reactions to? Mel?
Well, it's funny you should ask this question around, but I think to myself, how obscure, but how old, how not modern is this? Right? If I was having a conversation with somebody, I start talking like this in the morning, a spiritual conversation, then what are you talking about? How would you rewrite this simply? I was thinking, how would I do that? I was looking at this right now.
Like an idiomatic conversational English?
And one more thing, I'm reading a book now about, a little controversial, it's about famous liberals who were anti-Semitic, like Arthur Koestler, Hannah Arendt. Hannah Arendt. She was, well, anyway, that's the opinion of the author. And then anti-Israel, like Noah Chomsky, all these famous, I.F. Stone. And I was trying to understand, well, what's going on here? And what is it in the Siddur that I can point to? Wait a minute, there's a lot of value here. That's what I'm getting at. What's the value of what this text is about?
Okay. What's the value?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think it's about?
I'm reading it.
I mean, I think your comment about like the language, it's poetic language for sure. You wouldn't walk around, you typically wouldn't come in, say, how fair is your pen? But it's poetic language, this is from the Torah and the Tanakh. Yeah, Vicky.
I'm sorry, I was preoccupied, but are you talking about when they say how fair are your tents?
Yeah, that's what we're at 30.
When he visited, when he saw, and each tent was at an angle or whatever, so it respected the privacy of each person.
That's good. Did y'all talk about that last week?
Yes.
No, I wasn't here last week.
You did. Okay. Did you look at the Talmudic passage on that, or? Okay.
I wasn't tuned into that. I didn't even hear you say it, but it always stuck out in my mind because I thought it was so beautiful. The language itself. And then when I read the Torah, I knew what it was, what it was referring to. So
okay.
It just always stuck in my mind.
So based on that, I mean, what is this passage about?
That's around 31 or 30?
30.
30, all right.
Yes.
Why is it that we're beginning the prayer with this? Because remember, this is the first piece of liturgy. So we've done the Talit, fill in. All right, so why are we saying this prayer? Howard?
We're walking into a place where we're going to pray, where we're going to be with our neighbors, our community, and this, as the prayer says, this is a place where God dwells. We're entering God when we walk into this place.
Good. So the Hebrew there, the second line, Mishkanotecha. just to do a little bit of Hebrew there. The three-letter root, Hebrew is built on three-letter word roots. The three-letter root here is shin, kaf, nun. Shin, kaf, nun, which means to dwell. What can you think of another word that that has the same root that kind of follows from what Howard was saying? Shin, kaf, nun.
Mishkan.
Well, Mishkan, yeah. So Mishkan is the tabernacle, the place, the sanctuary. Shekhinah? Shekhinah. Good, yeah. Shekhinah. Shekhinah, what is Shekhinah? It's a manifestation of God. It's the spirit, it's the divine presence of God in the world. So one second, Courtney. So when we were a couple of weeks ago, I think I showed you the map of the Sfirot in Kabbalah. Remember that? How it looked like almost like a DNA kind of a thing that went from top to bottom. At the top of it is Ein Sof, the infinite. God and God's kind of fullest, the entirety. This is where God was infinite. And then through that map of the Sfirot, we talked about how the divine energy flows from the Ein Sof, from the infinite, down through the Sfirot into the world. The bottom of the Sfirot map there is Malchut or Shekhinah, which means kingdom, or the Shekhinah is the divine presence. That's what's manifest in the world. The Shekhinah is God's dwelling presence in the world. Now remember how we had talked before about that it's like all of the divinity is refracted through the various spirits. So what we experience of God in this world is like a filtered presence, because the Ein Sof is in excess. It's far too consuming for us, but the Shekhinah is the manifestation of God in the world. So here when we talk about the dwelling place, and this word has the sense of the tabernacle, the Shekhinah, and also let's see, there's a word I can't remember now. What is the word? The word for neighbor is also built on this root. I can't remember what the word is right now, but it's built on this root too. So when you think about that, and that's important to what Linda had said, or what Vicky had said about the interpretation of the tense and facing each other and whatnot, you just look up the word for neighbor so I can relay this to you properly.
Is that the chart that had circles and then lines going?
Yeah, that was that's the Sfirot in Kabbalah. No, and I see it, and I recall it. Yeah. Okay, Shaphain. Shaphain is neighbor. Okay, so we have a sense of neighbor in here. What does that suggest to you, Courtney?
I also think real quickly that in the first line, your dwellings, O Israel, can the dwellings actually be the sanctuaries of our minds?
Okay.
And that's tying, that's tying into the bottom. Oh God, in your abundant faithfulness, ask me if you're sure deliverance. It's like your deliverance, like having the faith, that sanctuary, that dwelling. So the tents are many different things in our lives, like our dwelling, our being. That's that means the song you have.
Beautiful, I like that. Look at the front of the prayer book. What's our prayer book called?
Mishkan Tefillah.
Mishkan Tefillah, right? So Mishkan, there's that same word. Mishkan is the dwelling place, and here the dwelling place of prayer. So prayer I mean, it lives in the book in the sense that the words live in the book. But as we've been studying about prayer, we know that prayer is not, the essence of prayer is not in the pages. The essence of prayer is in the sound, right? So the Mishkan Tefillah is partially the book, but the Mishkan Tefillah, the dwelling place of prayer, is really this. Yeah, so that fits nicely with what we're doing. Vicki?
Yeah, when Courtney brought that up, that in the mind, I was thinking how God really wanted the Mishkan, when they were building it, he really wanted it to be, yes, it's a portable structure, but he really wanted it to be within our hearts, a dwelling place within our hearts, because of our love for God.
Okay.
To have that,
Good.
To make it internal rather than an external structure.
Okay, very nice. Howard?
You had asked, what does the word neighbor having the same root to suggest?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe that we need to be with our neighbors in order to evoke presence of God. The combination of neighbors is a necessary component to bringing God into the place.
Okay, good, very nice. So of course, prayer, a full prayer experience, or the highest form of prayer in our tradition is prayer that takes place in a meeting, right? Which requires 10 adults. So it's not that prayer, individual prayer, it's not that you can't do it, you can and should, but the fullest expression of prayer takes place in communities. So, and we've been talking, Howard and Elaine are part of this task force on prayer that we're going to be we'll share more information pretty soon about. We're going to engage our congregation in a broader, in a conversation about prayer and the experience of prayer. And we've been talking about, different dimensions of the prayer experience. That prayer isn't one dimensional. It doesn't happen only inside the self. It doesn't happen only on the page. It doesn't happen only in your dialogue with God or only in your connection with people around you. It's all of these. And if you think about, I can't remember if I mentioned this class or not, but I think about prayer taking place along two axes. There's the x-axis, which is the horizontal, and the y-axis is the vertical, if you think mathematically. So the y-axis, the vertical, is the dimension between the worshiper and God, here and up, right? The x-axis is the dimension between us, the worshiper, and those who are around them. Okay? And both of those, when both of those are in kind of full, I don't know, functioning fully or vibrant, in full vibrancy, it's a really powerful experience. It's a really powerful, and that's where the neighbor aspect, of course, like there are some, Howard likes to say, the old kind of joke that, Mr. Goldberg comes to synagogue to talk to God, and Mr. Garfinkel comes to synagogue to talk to Mr. Goldberg.
What was the X, Y again? What was the axis?
So the Y-axis, the vertical axis, is the encounter between the individual and God. And the X-axis, the encounter between the individual and the people around you. The horizontal.
Is there an independent variable there? Or?
I don't know how far to take the metaphor with the mathematics, but in any case, so I think that this is reflected. If you look in the first two lines, the Matavu line and Mishkanot Yisrael, this is poetic. It's taken from the Torah. It's given as poetry by Bilam, the prophet, who says it, and it's stated in a parallelism. Anybody here a literature poetry student. Okay, so Courtney, what do you notice about the structure of those two lines?
On page
30, it's the first two lines. 30.
Okay, as far as the structure?
Yeah, the literary structure.
Yeah, you know, whenever one tries to decipher what the poet is trying to say, there's so much of a structure, there's an art to where you place the words. You don't make a breath. You know, you're actually saying to a person, there's things that have more emphasis. It has to be hung on and interpreted. It's not just reading it, you know.
Okay. So what do you notice about the structure of these lines?
So how fair are your tenants, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel.
Yeah.
Pause. Then, proceed. I, through your abundant love, entered your house. But even a semicolon has significance there. I bow down in awe at your holy temple. So it's almost like, I mean, I do a strange thing with poetry where I tie words in together. So like dwellings, I usually circle that. And then I will circle a temple. I almost like make an arrow because those are interrelated.
Okay.
Whereas if you're reading, you know, James Patterson novel, you're not going to do that. And then going forward, Adonai, I love your temple abode, the dwelling place of your glory. So then you're typing dwelling, temple, glory, temple. Yeah. Okay. And I will humbly, and separately, I will humbly bow down low before Adonai, my maker. That speaks, that's alone, because that is the crux. That is the most important to me. Part of the poem. And lastly, as for me, my prayer comes to you, Adonai, at a favorable time. Oh God, in your abundant faithfulness, answer me your assured deliverance. That feels really like, okay, this humbly comes before. Here's a humble expression. As for me, you know, almost like nothing subservient, but understands the place, the hierarchy. May my prayer comes to you at a favorable time, like acknowledging that I'm doing this not only my best interest, but also acknowledging your time, your favorable time.
Wow, what a beautiful way you heard it.
Courtney, nice. Literary analysis. So these are this prayer is a tapestry of biblical verses. Okay, so you can see at the bottom, in the notes at the bottom of page 30, it shows you the sources for that. So the rabbis who wrote, you know, who compiled the Siddur, put this together as a liturgical poem by selecting these various verses and weaving them together. So I think Courtney gave us a nice analysis of how they're all interrelated. They're all couplets, or except for perhaps the I will humbly bow down. What you see in the English, remember, is interpretive because it's translation. There's no punctuation in the same way, at least in the Bible, as there is with, you know, with semicolons and commas, although the trope functions as punctuation. But in any case, there are couplets here. And what I wanted to draw your attention to in just the first couplet, Ma tovu ohalata Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. That's that couplet in poetic structure is a parallelism. Okay, it's two lines that seem to say the same thing, just in different words. Okay, so it's parallel structure. But there's something important about that. Actually, there's a couple of things that are important about that. First, so the first line addresses Yaakov, and the second line addresses Yisrael. All right, so what's significant about that? Vicky?
Wasn't Jacob, what the name there, wasn't he also called Israel?
So these are the two names of Jacob, the same person. What do those two names suggest?
They have different agents.
What's that?
They're not saying different agents, like they're different birds, it's like different places.
Yes. So what's the pivotal moment where his name changes?
Went on the after he wrestles with God.
Exactly. Right, he wrestles with the divine being in the will, you know, in the desert in the middle of the night. And he prevails, and the divine being says, you're now going to be called Israel. Okay. So this couplet is addressing to the same person, as it were, but in the two elements of his personality.
Right.
Okay, that's one thing. What does Yisrael suggest that's different, you know, from Jacob? And other than the fact that it came after wrestling with God, what's significant about the name Yisrael as compared to Yahweh? But what happens when he becomes Yisrael that makes him different from being Yahweh? Does the word Israel have any significance beyond it being the name of Jacob? Yeah, what?
It's also people.
The people, right? Okay, so Yisrael, when Jacob becomes known as Israel, he becomes the father of the people. What is the term for us with that using that name?
Really?
Well, Israelites, yeah, which in Hebrew is what? No, Yehudim is another name for us, Jews. B'nai Yisrael. Okay, B'nai Yisrael means the children of Israel. Okay, so we are the children of Israel, and Yisrael is the name for the collective. Okay, so here we see in the first line the address to Yaakov, the individual. And the second line, the address to Yisrael, the collective. Okay, but they're two sides of the same personality. They're not two discrete, you know, addressees. They're related. They're two sides of the same personality. One in the individual, one in the collective. Which suggests what about the experience of prayer?
When we say prayer, some of them are said as individual, you know, at least for individual prayers, and others are said as a community.
Right, that's right. And there is some of that altering in the singular and plural, the prayer. And we were just talking about how prayer has the individual dimension in terms of its relationship between the individual and God, and between the individual and the others. And then the collective dimension of prayer, which is maybe a third axis, however you would, the z-axis or whatever it's called in mathematics, the third axis, which is the relationship in prayer of the collective to God. The collective is called what? Israel. But what do we call it when you have a collective in prayer? Minyan, right? So the relationship of the minyan as an entity to God. Okay, so our tradition, the z-axis would be the relationship between the collective and God.
Okay.
The entity. So there are sources on this, and I can think of where it is, but it's in a book in my office, which I never again. But there are sources, and what I'm thinking of is from the Zohar, the book on Kabbalah, you know, the foundational text of Kabbalah, and it talks about that the minyan, the community, constitutes an entity unto itself. It's not, a minyan is different. Well, a minyan is at one time a collection of individuals, but it's also more than a collection. Okay, so a minyan is not simply 10 or more individual people standing together. It is that, but once you have 10, you have a community, which the Zohar calls Knesset Yisrael, like the gathering of Israel. And that's an entity that transcends the sum of its parts. Okay, Susan and then Courtney.
I was thinking maybe there is another dimension. You have the dimension of the individual to God. Then you have the dimension of the group to God. What about the a dimension between individuals in the group, how they could help each other?
That's the X.
That's the X, not to God, but to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the X, the horizontal, the relation that's happening amongst the people.
And the other thing, I think, to me, this is a personal thing. To me, the most powerful 3 words, 1, 2, 3, 4 words in this, the whole prayer is at a favorable time. You know, you're not asking for it immediately. You know, maybe I'm confused. What when they mean at a favorable time?
Well, so I want to get to that later. I want to explore the content here. Okay. So let's save that. I want to unpack first these first 2 lines. Okay, so we see the individual and the collective reflected in the Yaakov and Yisrael parallel. Now, notice the noun in the 2 lines. Again, it's structured as a parallelism. In line 1, you have Ohalecha, and in line 2, you have Mishkanotecha. So the noun in the first line is Ohel. Ohel means tent, and Mishkan means the dwelling place, the tabernacle, like we said. So we were just talking about Mishkan, and it means the tabernacle. The Mishkan is what they construct in the wilderness, you know, for the community to come and gather and worship God. In the last week's parashah, they start building it. We're building it through this one too. So that's the communal gathering, right? So it makes sense that Mishkan is connected here in the line with Yisrael. That's where the community gathers. In the first line, Ohel is the tent. Ohel Yaakov, we talked about Yaakov, is the individual personality. What's significant about Ohel as it relates to that?
What does it mean?
Ohel means tent.
As it relates to what?
As it relates to the individual personality of Yaakov. Do we know? Now?
Back up a second. I'm a little confused here. Why, if you're making a prayer, you're making a request, basically, right? Our prayer is a request.
Some prayers. That's not the only element of prayer. The sages teach that there are 3 types of prayer. Request or petition is one of the types. Another type is praise, and another type is thanksgiving. Yes. Those are the 3 types of prayer according to the Talmud.
So why do you start off referring to Jacob? You would think, I'm so confused here. Why did he mention God in the first sentence instead of Jacob?
Well, I mean, so this couplet is taken from the Torah, where Balaam, the Gentile prophet for hire, is hired to curse the Israelites, but instead he pronounces a blessing. He's standing like on a cliff, and he's overlooking the encampment of the Israelites. And these are the words that come out of his mouth. So he's speaking about what he sees, you know, the people. He's not speaking about God directly, he's speaking about the people. But he notices, or his words come out in the couplet. So he speaks about the individual dimension of the community, of what he sees, and the communal, right? So so Shelley, your hands up. What do you have something to say about the Ohel, the tent?
I do, but also I do want to say your visual of, going up to God and then the community. And I do feel, having prayed in minyanim services, that the energy that you feel from your community helps you, I think, in addition to the prayer leader, helps you to reach upward as well as across. It all works together. That's the first thing. And the second thing, right? I mean, I think that's, you can't get that if you say pray by yourself, or, it's a little harder with Zoom, but it can definitely help. You can still do it. And then the second thing that, I don't know if this, you wanted to talk about this at all, but what it did make me think of about when talking about your tents, your dwellings, your temple abode, is just the greater conversation going on in the Reformed Jewish community about how we have these beautiful synagogue buildings, and do we really need them to achieve what we want to achieve, prayer and so on, that maybe they've become a millstone. They're not having a fixed place like that can be so costly in many instances. What does that say? So I just wanted to bring that up as well. Thank you.
Great point. I mean, especially in the post-COVID world. We have learned a lot about, about the ability to create and experience community outside the physical dimension of space. So it does raise questions about dwelling places and, and all that's really important. And I think you're right, Shelley, that this is kind of the next frontier in Jewish life, and I think in life in general, about the role of gathering spaces and the whole scheme of things in community. Courtney, go ahead and look into
part of my ignorance, but is there a correlation between it where God gave us the 10 commandments as a community? We were gathered. And instead of just going by oral history from one person, it was meant to be that everyone felt the energy together, and then it became.
Yes, yeah, that's right. We're gathered. I mean, Judaism is a communal religion. There is definitely an individual aspect to it, but the fullness of of its expression is found in community.
Maybe
so this
happens for the 10 people for minion.
Yeah, that's actually not the source for the concept of minion, but it's a nice. It could be that the sages find it in elsewhere, but 10. I mean, It could be the sages that derive that 10 constitutes a community, and a community is greater than the sum of its parts. I mean, let's just comment on that first. Do you experience when you have in our tradition, if you have fewer than 10 in a prayer service, you have, let's say you have 9. You have 9 individuals praying together. When you have 10 or more, the tradition says not only do you have 10 individuals praying together, but you have an entity that's greater than the sum of its parts. Is that something that you feel like you experience? Comment on that, Vicki?
I experienced it morning minion, the support, and I think we've all, Shelley also, I think we've all expressed, how wonderful we feel the group is, and even though we're not together, we're doing it virtually, you feel their support, particularly if there's a crisis, an illness or something, and it's just a wonderful feeling to pray with these people. All of us together, and you do feel an affinity towards them. Getting back to what Shelley said, I think this idea of where people pray harkens back perhaps to the Middle Ages. I mean, many of us, we Jews, we came from shtetls. They didn't have magnificent synagogues, But I think, you know, the kind of churches that were built and so forth, but relating it to ourselves, I always loved the chapel. And when you said that from now on, we're going to have Saturday services here, you know, in that room, you know, I could sense a lot of people, some people mentioned they didn't like that. It's not, you know, it's not in a chapel, it's not in a sanctuary. And I went in there and it was so beautiful to have the light coming in. And it shows it really didn't matter, you know, and just all of us being together. I actually liked it better. And it reminds me of a friend of mine when they sold their family home and, you know, everyone was out of the house, but they had memories of the mother and the father. They gathered together, this family, they're Israeli. And they said, it really doesn't matter where the house, you know, what we're living in, as long as we're together and the love is there. That's really what is the best, you know, that is the essence of it. That's the important thing.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Bonnie.
Very interesting you bring that up because I was thinking.
Someone found it.
No, because I was thinking of coming this past Friday night to services. And I called the office in the morning and I said, it's still in the old sanctuary, right? And of course I was told, no, it's in the library. And that's
No, the service is in the chapel.
Well, I wish I knew because to me, the old sanctuary, I'm with my grandparents. Because their plaques are up here. The old sanctuary.
You're talking about the chapel.
The chapel, sorry.
No, I'm just trying to clarify where.
For me, I feel like I'm with my grandparents. So it's a very warm,
very nice
feeling, you know?
Beautiful.
Well, now that I know, I'll have to come.
Good. All right. Good. I hope you will. The home egg.
Ah.
All right, I want to show you here. So this verse from the Torah, this is Genesis chapter 25 in Parashat Toldot. Jacob and Esau, the Jacob and Esau story. So they're born, you know, the twins. So here's the description. When the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the outdoors. But Jacob became a mild man raising livestock. Now that translation is weird. They have an asterisk there, so whatever it means, or why they put it that way, they did. But I want to show you the Hebrew. It's over here. V'Yaakov Ishtam, he's a simple man. Yoshev Ohalim. What is Yoshev? What?
Resided or lived?
Close. Close.
Yeah.
This is related to the word yeshiva. And what do you do in the yeshiva? You study, but that's not what yoshev means. Actually, but in order to study, you sit. Yeah. So yoshev means sit. So Jacob was the simple man who sits ohalim in the tents. Okay. So the Ohel is connected here in the Torah with Jacob, the individual personality, and he sits inside his tent. Okay, how does this contrast with Esau? He's out there, outside doing stuff. Jacob likes to hang out indoors. Okay, fine. He likes to hang out by himself indoors. Okay, so the tent, going back here to this, first, the tent has the sense of the individual domain, right? The domain of the individual person or the individual family unit is the tent, whereas the Mishkan is the communal gathering place. Okay, so you see again how the parallelism evokes these two dimensions of the whole Jewish experience, the individual and the communal. Okay, and they're set up, it's a parallelism. They're both equally important and significant to the whole of the experience. Okay, now I want to show you something. I think you mentioned that you have looked at this about the pride. You mentioned, Vicky, that like the tents were facing in a way. Okay, let me just show you the Talmudic passage on that. And we can unpack it a little bit. So we're gonna go Baba Batra, one of the tractates of the Talmud, that deals with civil damages. So I don't know why it's here, but it is. Let's go. Okay, so here we have the way the Talmud works. Just a little Talmudic background so you know what you're reading. The Talmud consists of two kind of substrata. There's the Mishnah and the Gemara. You heard those terms, the Mishnah and the Gemara. Okay, so the Mishnah is the earlier layer of the two. Okay, the Mishnah is the legal interpretations of the early generations of the rabbis, from, let's say, the 1st century before the Common Era through the 3rd century of the Common Era. That's the Mishnah. The Gemara, and those rabbis of the Mishnah lived in Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara is the interpretations of the Mishnah and the Torah by the later generations of rabbis from the 4th century through the 6th or so century in Babylonia. And so and together those two comprise the Talmud. So you have the Mishnah with the Gemara kind of discussing the Mishnah. Okay, so that's what I tell you that because it's good to know. And also this is what you see here. So this statement here first is a statement from the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, a person may not open an entrance opposite another entrance or a window opposite another window toward a courtyard belonging to partners, so as to ensure that the residents will enjoy a measure of privacy. If there was a small entrance, he may not enlarge it. If there was one entrance, he may not fashion it into two, but one may open an entrance opposite another entrance or a window opposite another window toward the public domain. Similarly, if there was a small entrance, he may enlarge it, and if there was a one entrance, he may fashion it into two. Okay, so that's a law from the Mishnah. Now notice the extent, just the scope of halakha. This gives you, this is the Mishnah talking about creating entrances and where your doorways need to be. I mean, that's the extent. I mean, that shows you like how far reaching halakha goes. This isn't about prayer. This isn't about kashrut or holidays or typical things that you think that the Jewish law might be concerned with. This is about, interpersonal relations and societal arrangements, social arrangements. Courtney.
I also think that the tent can provide some sort of security, like a barrier, like a roof from home. Also the entranceway, the fact that we hang the zipper.
Yeah.
Also pronounced, this is for Judaism is. We are the people. So when we're home, it doesn't matter if there's a tent or there isn't, it's a constant reminder.
Mm-hmm. Nice, thank you. Okay, so I wanted to point this out in the Mishnah. Now the Gemara goes on to discuss, well, how do we know this stuff? Where did the Mishnah get its information? The Gemara asks, from where are these matters? Meaning that one may not open an entrance opposite another entrance, or a window opposite another window derived. Where do we get this? Rabbi Yochanan says that the verse states, and Bilam lifted his eyes and he saw Israel dwelling, tribe by tribe, and the Spirit of God came upon him. The Gemara explains, what was it that Bilam saw that so inspired him? He saw that the entrances of their tents were not aligned with each other, ensuring that each family enjoyed a measure of privacy. And he said, if this is the case, these people are worthy of having the divine presence rest on them. Okay, so the Talmud here now gives us a sense of spatiality, spatialness, or whatever the proper abstract noun is. And I think it can teach us something about these two dimensions. So imagine the tents now in the encampment. Each tent, each family has its own tent, and there's a mishkan, you know, the big communal prayer place. And this is what Balaam sees. And the tents now are arranged in such a way that the openings to the tent do not directly face each other. They're like, right, you know, a little bit turned so that they don't face each other to create a sense of privacy. So there's a private domain, which is the OL, the individual tent, and it's important to retain a measure of privacy, even as you live amongst the entire, you know, the entire community. So this is the nature of social life generally, not only Judaism, but Judaism is teaching us something about values, you know, as it pertains to social life, that at once and the same time, we need to respect and preserve individual privacy while also living as an engaged part of a collective. Okay, so how does now that's Balaam's prophecy that comes from the Torah. The sages chose now to take that couplet from the Torah in the context of Balaam observing the encampment and use it as the introduction to the prayers. To the prayer service. So why? Now that we've unpacked this and a lot, what can you say about how this is a helpful or unhelpful frame to the beginning of the prayer service?
It's an analogy, you know, that you have the homes, and then you have the community center, and then you have the prayer, the private prayer, and then you have the praying with the community and interacting with the community. Also, I just have to say, during COVID, we had Zoom, and it still continues. But there's something special about being physically near people when there's a community. At least for me. Yeah, there's and I'm on some Zoom calls, but I get much more when I'm physically with others.
Yeah, and so the you know, the halakha around minyan for prayer, like the halakha deals with what constitutes a minyan, what conditions have to be kind of in place in order for an individual to be counted in the minyan. Some of those conditions deal with the spatial location of the individual. Okay, so that the individual, and you know, we could go into, I don't want to do that now, but the individual, in order to be counted in the minyan, has to be within the particular proximity of the other people, you know, physical proximity. Okay, and they deal with like, well, what if you're standing? What if, you know, you have to be able to hear the voice, you know, the voice of the people. You have to be able to say amen to the prayers. They have to be able to hear you. There's a whole kind of thing around the physical, you know, spatial relationship of people to the other in order to constitute community. When we went into the Zoom world, so the CCAR Responsa Committee of the Reform Movement back in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, wrote a responsum on the question of, can you have a can people participating online count in the minyan? And they went through this, all of this information in halakha about the spatial requirements, and their conclusion was no. Person participating online cannot count in the minyan because the halakha requires the physical proximity. Then, when COVID happened, the committee revisited the question, okay? And then wrote a response that said, yes, an online minyan can count as a minyan. The classical sources didn't change, but of course the world did. And so, so now it's the enterprise of creating Jewish community in today's world is different, not only from the enterprise of creating a prayer community in the Middle Ages, but also in 2015, 2018. It's a different world, right? So our Reform community is now, come out our official, statement is that we can have, online minyanim and give a good justification for it, I think. But prior to COVID, even the Reform was. So our relationship to space and physicality and all these things have definitely changed. Yeah, Courtney.
I think there also needs to be, as a community, transcends religion, that there needs to be a spiritual boundary between people in order to coexist. And also, that being said, as far as the COVID, and any kind of global pandemic, that space is to protect us. If we would all gather, super spreaders, all these have become, words in our everyday language, had before, we have a plague.
Yeah.
So God would not, I would assume, not as called as
yeah, okay. Good. Mel, your hand is up.
I want to use the word spiritual boundary, which reminds me of the booths, the right to privacy, which I think the first person who identified that was Jewish justice. And you don't see that in the Constitution, the right to privacy. It's a funny thing when the Senate interviews future Supreme Court justice, they said, do you believe in the right to privacy? Well, I really can't answer that question. I'm afraid to nowadays. It's kind of sad, but it just shows you. I'm so excited to hear that in our tradition, the right to privacy is so important.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good contrast. If the right to privacy isn't stated explicitly in the U.S. Constitution, it is stated explicitly here in our.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Howard and Vicky.
Yeah, on privacy and Susan mentioning private prayer. I'm lucky to be sitting next to the prayer book. So I pulled out the Shabbat prayer book because I was thinking of a prayer, and I'll just read the beginning of it. Each of us enters this sanctuary with a different need. Some hearts are full of peace and gratitude, overflowing with love and joy. They are eager to confront the day to make the world a better place. They are recovering from illness or have escaped misfortune. We rejoice with them. Some hearts ache with sorrow and so forth. So, yeah, we are community, but our tents don't face each other because each of our tents has different things going on inside that we need to keep to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's part of maybe the beauty of the prayer, the communal prayer experience, and that reading gives expression to it. It's that we're all coming together for a common purpose, which is to constitute a prayer community and worship God together and sing and recite the prayers together, and in the plural for language and so forth. So there's that unity of purpose, and yet at the same time, each individual person brings their own self and their own condition and experiences, and so we're to that prayer community. So there is a way, there is also an element simultaneously of, uniqueness among each individual participant, even as we're engaging in the unified, plural kind of common task. And I know we studied this at some point, maybe around the high holidays this past year, Soloveitchik and talked about private prayer, the importance of the private prayer in the worship service, because there are certain things that are not only like kind of private and unique unto ourselves, but there are certain things that we, each of us as an individual, cannot share with anyone else. No one else, not even the closest person to you, can only be shared with God. Okay, so the entity of the minion is very powerful because of the commonality and the unique individuality that's all together in that room. And that, I think contributes to creating the vibrant, powerful prayer space. So maybe, some of this helps us to understand why the sages thought to begin the prayer with Ma Tovu, to help us fit in that frame of being both individual and private and communal and sharing all at the same time. Yeah, Susan.
Okay, I'm digressing here a lot, but I just spent 9 days with an individual who was raised on a kibbutz, and which failed because the people needed more. This was a communist, experiment, but the people began to need more privacy. The community was wonderful, but it was overwhelming after a while. So it was just fascinating. I had studied the kibbutz in school and read about it, but the first time I ever actually met someone who was raised.
Yeah.
This is just expressive.
Well, no, it's actually really relevant because look, the poetic structure, back to the structure of the couplet, suggests a perfect parallelism. It's even, okay? That the private domain and the public domain, the privacy and the communalism are equal. They have to be but not one doesn't take precedence over the other. They are both equally important. Perhaps what you're saying with your experience of the kibbutz is that maybe the communal dimension took up too much space and there wasn't enough for the private. Or you can also imagine what might happen in a society. And, some people would make an argument about, American culture, American society writ large, that the individual space, the private space takes up too much. And there's not enough of the communal. This says we begin the prayer with the fully even and equal balance between the two. Okay, all right, so we're gonna end here. Next, I want to work through these other verses that comprise motto. Okay, and then we'll study them. We'll see how they're all interrelated and build it up.
Can you not log out of the Zoom?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Leave this on. Thank you, Howard. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. Michelle, we have Michelle with you. I don't know you, Michelle. Welcome. Are you there? I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the group.
With the kids. That's why I turned off my camera, but I am happy to be here. Thank you.
No, are you? I'm not sure if I know. Michelle, where do you live?
In Graceland.
You're Michelle. Okay, yes. I didn't recognize your last name.
In a hurry.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Michelle. I'm of course ending. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. And I found the time and the class. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm glad you're here. Hope you'll join us again. All right, everybody. Have a great day. I'm going to call for Howard and Shelby meeting. Howard. Alfred, thanks, you too. Glad you're here. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know,
I was searching for them. They weren't quite as easy. You're on Facebook? Yeah. The best way to look at them is on Facebook. So I'll show you where to find them. You go to their Facebook is Congregation of Temple Israel. Okay. So you go there, their video. Thank you so much. So what I have to do, I found a service. How is it right? I can go. I need to select here and Facebook. Yeah. Yeah. The one we're like waiting here, but they have there. Yeah. The fans first. Sure. No, I'd love for y'all to watch it. Even better. Yeah. Let me say, see everybody. So Howard and Shelley are using the Zoom link for a meeting right now.
Should I just stay on for this?
The rest of you guys wouldn't mind jumping off, though. Howard and Shelley can have their meeting. That would be good.
So what am I going to do? You want me to go off and then log back on?
You stay on. I'm just asking the other.
I can't hear you, Howard. You're really muffled.
Weird. Shelley, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Shelley, stay on.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask Glenda, Karen, and Judy if you guys wouldn't mind jumping off because Howard and Shelley are going to be having a meeting. There you go.
Hi, guys.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah. Bye, dear. And, all right, I'll see you later. I'm glad you guys want to take a visit. First.
Oh.
The rest of it is online. Yeah. All right. Hey guys. Thank you. Vicky, are you doing okay?
Friday night. I'm in here. I don't know.
Awesome.
Sunday is
Check the email. I mean,
yeah, I know. But it's also my birthday, so I don't know.
Don't worry about this one.
I'm not worried. Not worried. Not worried.
There's one email that's during the week. And
thank you.
I know you need to.
Yeah. Say thank you. I appreciate it.
It's just
Then I hear you. I hear you. No, I listen. I'm fine. Right. Boy, it's not easy to have friends. I actually just reunited with somebody that I knew when my kids were like born, and she lived 2 houses away, and like we had so much in common. I'm like, well, that's what I found something. Right. Right. Have a good day. Yeah, you too.
Your contribution, Bonnie.
Oh, I try.
Hopefully, Monroe.
What?
No, he was asking everything. I just remember they love everybody.
Ah.
Good.
It's beautiful. I really enjoy it.
She finds something there, and it's a compliment, that I don't even, can't even reach to get.
Right.
But it's a nice.
Yeah, you know.
That's what it's in the teachers used to say.
That's why I put things like no polypod and wow.
It's nice to hear versus like certain people who we hear from when said good morning, and it's like, again.
Are you talking about?
Well, I don't shut up either. I keep noticing.
When are they gonna eat? You have to wear a mask there, though, right?
Yeah. Trying to get the transcript.
Very hard for me to do that.
Oh, what are you talking about? I had sinus issues. I couldn't breathe.
You breathe and I can't speak. I don't. Because I'm constantly with the mask and with my finger to eat. I can't breathe.
Very difficult.
Right. It's like Howard is. All right, well, I'm going.
I need to I have to learn to do that.
Do you hear me?
Yes. Howard, I was just texting you. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Now I can't hear you at all. I see you, but I don't hear you. Now I can hear you, but it's really faint.
That should not be. It should be loud and clear.
Well, it's better. It's better, but
all right. We just have to shout.
Any way to turn up your volume?
I don't think so, but let me see.
Stacy, is Stacy there? Can she help you?
Stacy's not here. Lady, we need to have a meeting here. It's, you know, sorry. Let me see about volume.
Yeah, actually, we could leave it here and come back. Yeah.
She's not on yet.
She's supposed to be in the room. I don't see her. Let's see.
No, I don't either. Howard, is she there? I'm taking a quick rest room break while you do that. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. All right.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Okay. We're having trouble with the volume for some reason.
Okay.
Shelley is not here. So how are you?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
So all new to me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, do you hear me okay?
Yes, it's much better. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, nice to meet you.
Meet you as well.
Howard, Howard, I was going to ask if you could take notes. My eyes are pretty tired. You know, I'm still healing. So that would be great. Or maybe.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything to take notes with. But maybe you think it'd be better if I took notes than if Stacy took notes? Is that what you? It's fine. I don't mind.
I mean, I do have, you know, I've got something to take notes with, but I just thought one of us should do it. I can do it. So do we get started?
Well, I'm just thinking that, Stacy's the one who's going to have to carry out the mission. Seems logical to me that she would be taking notes about what each of us is saying. Doesn't that make sense?
I'm having trouble again hearing you. It's all garbled. I'm seeing the two of you together, but not, you know, in individual.
Well, we're not doing anything differently from the times that you hear us okay and the times that you don't hear us okay.
Okay. So I think if you're facing the computer, I can hear you better. You were kind of looking to see about your notes.
Yeah. Actually, it's the owl that's picking up my voice and not the computer. And the owl is 5 feet away from me.
Okay, well, let's just try. Maybe we could get started. So Stacy, I'm not sure how much you know about the Minyan and its organization, and what we might or might not need from you, but whatever help you can give would be definitely appreciated. So if you want a little background, I thought I could just start out by saying that when we started, the lay people started subbing for the rabbi in Omaha, we quickly realized that we did need better organization. So we have our main technology person who I think should have been here. However, it's her week off. She took a week off. She's pretty tired because she does the Zoom every single day, with maybe occasional subbing by Charlie Shapiro and another woman, Eileen. We're all from the central time zone, from the Midwest. I'm from the Chicago area, and they're from Omaha. So anyway,
Can I interrupt for a second, Shelley? Do we need to step back even further in explaining to you what the morning Minyan is and
what I know
who
of
the
it,
people are that are on it?
What I know of it is only that it's a prayer group that's 10 or more people.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, maybe I should. So Rabbi Stoller started an in-person minyan at my congregation in the Chicagoland area. And I want to say this was about 15 years ago. And it was in person only, and it was also only once a week. Then he moved to become senior rabbi at Temple Israel, and he did not start the new minyan right away, although he wanted to. And it was not until March of 2020, when COVID began, that he decided to do an all Zoom minyan. And at that time, Temple Israel was the host, and Karen O, as we call her, Karen Euler, she offered to help out with Zoom, and we set that up, and we started getting more and more people on Zoom. And at that time, the rabbi, on his day off, which happened to be Thursday, asked if there were any lay people in the minyan that would be willing to substitute. Because at the time, I was the one that was subbing for him, because I knew I used to do that at BJBE and I knew the service. So that's when we got a group of about 6 people. And we quickly realized that we needed some organization. When I was subbing, I just did it. But right. When you have more than one person, you've got to figure out who's doing the various parts, what days are you willing to sub, that kind of thing. At that point, and here's where I'm not clear about it. I don't know if it was the rabbi, Karen O, or Charlie, who set up a spreadsheet. But this is a spreadsheet whose link I just sent to you, and Howard has it as well, so that we could keep track of who was leading when. Now you'll see that down on the bottom, now I'm going to say, and Howard is probably maybe better at this than I am not a tech person, but we did do it in a way that we thought was going to be the easiest for people to sign up on the days that the rabbi could not lead. And we started out just with one link on the link, which is the one that says leading sign up. And it had the days that the rabbi needed. So if you go into the link, and then on I'm looking at my my iPhone. I'm looking at it on my iPhone.
Just so you know, Shelley, I'm holding open the document on my iPad here.
Okay.
And so this actually is a I'm not very good with Google Sheets and Google Docs myself, to be honest. But
it's a spreadsheet.
It's a spreadsheet, and there are different parts of the spreadsheet. There's another part that talks about who's going to do the opening reflection and so forth.
Okay. Right. So I just want to say we only started out in the beginning with who was going to lead. And then one of our members created a spreadsheet that had all the different prayers, and so we added that as a link. We also began doing reflections during the service, before or during the service. So we added a link for reflection sign up. So you've got the leading sign up, the reflection sign up. We've got the outline of the minyan service. I think that's what you're referring to, Howard.
Actually, what I'm looking at, and you know, I find it moderately helpful, but not all that helpful. I'm looking at the part of the spreadsheet right now. The very last line on it says March, Wednesday, 8, Shelley with team, Karen O, and then the next entry is blank.
So you're looking at the link that says leading sign up. Correct. Right. And so what we've been doing is somebody, and I'm not sure who it is it Karen? Is it Charlie? I don't know, puts down the date and the day, because it's not always a Wednesday, which is the rabbi's day off. It can be other days as well. And so you've got the month, you've got the day, you've got the date, and then people sign up. And
if I can interrupt, Stacy, you see that that every date in the month is not here.
Right.
The only dates that are here are the dates where we know in advance the Rabbi Stoller is not going to be with us.
Right.
So we know that generally means every Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And then there will also be dates like happened last week when he was gone the entire week.
Right, occasionally.
And so you see that we had, we had Monday, we said no minyan because it was president, it was Washington's birthday. Mm-hmm. And then we had each day. And so the next one that we know that needs to be covered is next Wednesday, March 8th.
The 8th is covered. I'm doing it.
Exactly. So the mission, let me give you if you don't mind, the goal here, what we're trying to end up with at the end of this meeting and at the end of your becoming familiar with what you're doing. The goal here is that probably every other Wednesday, because Shelley does every other Wednesday in keeping with her personal schedule of what she needs to be doing on the other Wednesday when she's not available.
Right.
Every other Wednesday, you're going to be assembling the team of people who are going to be.
I don't need that, Howard, but what? I don't need that.
No, you don't need it. You don't need it.
Yeah.
But the Wednesdays when you're not with us.
Oh, I see.
Stacy's job is to do the non-Shelley Wednesdays
There's another job I'd like from her, however.
Yeah.
And please don't, Howard, you're not interrupting. We're having a discussion. You're co-leading with me. So please just jump in. Here's something that I find is difficult, which is because I'm not Beth-El at Beth-El, and I don't know the rabbi's schedule. So on week ago Friday, he announced that he was going to be out for the whole week. I had no idea that he was going to be out for the whole week. And he said, Minyan is canceled. Well, I was happy to do, some of those days and to have our team do on Wednesday. And the cantor, chipped in and did Thursday. But we didn't know until last minute. So, Stacy, you know his schedule. If you're able to let us know or to even put it on the spreadsheet so we know, is the rabbi there? Does he need people or whatever? That's a huge, that's what I meant.
Absolutely, Shelley. Rabbi Stoller is so much more better organized than our previous rabbi.
Okay.
That I take for granted.
Yeah.
But still, yes, we could have. He surprised us a little bit when late the previous week he said, by the way, you guys are going to have to run Minyan without me all next week, except for Monday, which is a holiday. So yes. Absolutely. If you have a hint, if you know that he's going to be out before he's told us that he's going to be out. Yeah. So we know starting out that generally it's going to be every second Wednesday that you're going to have to do, because Shelley is still happy and willing, and we really appreciate it, to do every other Wednesday.
Well, and I have to tell Stacy, the reason I'm not available on alternate Wednesdays is because I'm still going to Rabbi Stoller's once a week minyan in person at our congregation. It is still going after 15 years. It's a testament to him. He's inspirational. Wow. And that's why I'm not going otherwise. But the other thing is that it does take a toll. It can be exhausting. And also, this is something new, because I think going forward, Howard, I think you might agree with me, on the weeks that our team is not leading, those alternate weeks, I don't know if we're going to get anybody. I'm not sure. So it could be confusing.
We will, Shelley. The key issue here, and the reason that Stacy is involved, I think, is that, people, I'll be straightforward. You and Anita and probably some others who didn't say anything, I think maybe we're looking to me to pick up the other Wednesday, to either be the leader or to organize it or, whatever. And honestly, it's just not something that I'm willing to do. Sure. And but I have very little doubt that we will be able to assemble a team of people who are willing to lead the individual prayers.
Okay.
That in advance of the date, Stacy, once she gets the hang of this, which I hope she does very soon, Stacy will be able to fill out the sheet, the list of prayers with a name for every other Wednesday. And
what do you mean the list of prayers with the names?
Well, in other words, we don't need to just know, you referred to an attachment or something. We don't need the piece of the spreadsheet that I'm looking at, for example, okay? For yesterday, when I completed it, it said Howard was the leader, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That Eileen was the tech person, and it says Linda, Martha, Joan, and Cindy. Okay, but that doesn't tell anybody, that doesn't tell us who's leading which prayer.
Because that's separate from the spreadsheet. That's something that Eileen created and sent out to all of us. So
did she? Okay, I have never seen that. And so I created my own, not my own, I borrowed it from, I think, Anita.
Which was from Eileen originally.
Okay. So I used a Word document, which you can see here, Stacy, I pasted into an email message that I sent to people in advance of yesterday. So basically, I mean, again, the end result is that for days when Shelley's not taking this on.
It's covered.
Right, and that this chart, every one of these prayers is going to have a name to the left of it.
Right.
Meaning that, yes, that's the person who's going to do it. And then if everybody has that in advance, we're all adults enough to, once we're online and logged in, we zip right through it and, you know, and that's it. Your job is done once you've circulated this to everyone and everyone has come back to you and said, yeah, that's right. That's what I said I would do. That's correct. You're done until the next one, which you then are going to want to start on right away for the next time. Yes.
And for me, I am, what can I say? I'm lazy. I use the same people every week if they're willing to do it. And they basically do the same prayers. So I just do it myself because it's so easy. I just change the date and send it out and back. And that's why you don't need to do it for me. However, and also you'll see again on the leading sign up, it used to be we'd put down who's doing what prayers. I don't even do that. I just say same as, February 28th or whatever, because we've got the spreadsheet to take a look at during the service so that we know who's doing what. I do want to say it would be helpful, maybe even by month, Stacy, if I'm the leading sign up, you could, like, we've only got through March Wednesday, the 8th. If you could put in the rest of the dates, as well as any dates you know of that the rabbi will not be there. Okay. Because if he's not going to be there, it's possible either there's no minyan or one of us will step up to do it. Okay. If it's on a Wednesday, I can do that. And then before I forget, I'd also like to bring in another task that would be extremely helpful, I think, which is that it can get confusing about when there is minyan and when there isn't minyan. I do not have a current email minyan list. And yet I'm known as one of the leaders of the minyan. So I'm constantly getting texts and emails, even on the very morning of the minyan. Is there minyan? Isn't there minyan? I get a lot of them. And it would really be nice if I wasn't getting these emails, if there was a way to just say, yes, there's minyan, or no, there isn't minyan. I will say that Temple Israel, and I'm not sure a rabbi would know who organized it. Every morning we got an automatic email, everybody on the minyan list, every one of us, every morning it would say, see you soon for morning minyan. And I also get people, I won't say who they are, I can't find the link, so see you soon for morning minyan, put the link right on there. That would be very helpful as well, if that's a possibility, because it can be confusing. So I don't know if that would be something, these dates, which I think are important, and having this reminder. And somehow I'm just seeing me, even though it says gallery. I don't see you guys anymore. Are you there? Hello? Can you hear me?